Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle and the entire Pacific Northwest. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, you, my friend, are in the right place. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and I'm joined today, as I always am every first week of the month, by the incomparable Craig Swanson. Our guest today is Lindsey Carnett, and I'm really excited to have Lindsey on. She is a local girl from Paulsboro originally. Lindsey is the dynamo at the helm of Marketing Maven. She's not just running the show, she's sprinting it. Recognized by Inc. 5000 and Entrepreneur 360 for her company's rapid growth. Lindsey is a powerhouse, scooping up awards like Entrepreneur of the Year by the West Ventura County Business Alliance in 2022. Now, when she's not winning awards, she's sharing secrets in her bestseller, The Marketing Maven Method. We'll be talking a lot about that. Lindsey's not only in fine print in the USA Today and Forbes Women, but she also lights up the screen from business rock stars to the doctors. Lindsey is a boardroom regular contributing to organizations like Vistage, WPO, and lighting up advisory boards from coast to coast. Now she has roots in collegiate soccer. Lindsey's a pro with a heart of for leadership and a head for strategy. Get ready to be inspired. Lindsey, welcome to the show. We will be right with you. Everyone, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. I didn't forget, Craig. We're also on Overcast. You can say we're ubiquitous. I couldn't spit that one out very well, Craig.
If you can say it.
Lindsey, we're going to be with you in just a minute. Before we are, Craig, how you doing, man?
I am doing really, really well. How are you doing, Dan?
Well, at first it didn't sound that way. It sounded like you're dragging there a little bit.
You know what? Maybe a little bit. I'm doing really well. No, it's just
Good.
been a really great new year, and just like it's so active that I am not getting as much sleep as I would like to. Like I'm just basically running from morning to night.
You just need more coffee.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've got lots of coffee.
Listen, earlier this week I had a really cool thing. I went to the Kitsap Athletic Roundtable Sports Hall of Fame banquet. They do it every year. I went as a guest. I had three very important people in my life who were going in. I was very, very proud to be there and happy to be a part of all of their lives. One of them happens to be one of my former athletes. Her name is Brenda Stice George, and I'm actually live streaming on my regular page today so I can share this with her. Maybe she's watching live, I don't know. But Brenda Stice George was an excellent softball player in addition to playing basketball for me. And in her speech, she talked about something that really resonated. She talked about forever being an athlete. So she talked about how she was an athlete in high school. She was an athlete at Seattle U. But even to this day, she still is active in athletics. And she talked about how athletics and being an athlete teaches you how to learn from failure, that you grow from failure. And it was so wonderful. I know my next column is going to be about that. I wanted to ask you, I think you're a judo guy or is that, I know that resonates with you. Do you have just a couple thoughts on that?
So judo was my sport when I was growing up. And yeah, like it really resonates to me every day. It's like going to the dojo for business. You're coming in, you're learning the fundamentals, you're doing the fundamentals again and again and again. You don't get to get the advanced stuff. You stay with the fundamentals and the advance comes with it. But I'll tell you what, the big thing for me, and I was a kid when I learned, in judo, you throw people around, you're doing a lot of flips and all these other things. In my dojo, I spent about 6 months learning to fall down before they let me do anything else interesting. And so we'd be jumping over pyramids of people, but I'll tell you what, in my life, I probably count on one hand the number of fights I've gotten in that I've used judo, but knowing how to control my body in a fall has saved me again and again and again as I have grown up. And that's huge for business. There's a lot to be said for being number one, but being in the game after you've survived a big fall and being able to pick up and keep going, staying alive in business is huge.
Well, you know, that's so cool. I love the analogy of falling down. As you know, I'm an avid golfer, and I just got back from Bandon Dunes, and golf is a game of failure. I'm just going to tell you, it's a game of failure, and you have to persevere through all 18 holes. Now, our guest, Lindsey Carnett, you may not know this, Craig, but she is originally from where I live now, Paulsboro, Washington. She's a North Kitsap High grad, where she was an exceptional soccer player, then went on to play collegiately and was the captain of her team. So, Lindsey, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's been way too long since we've talked. But we're not going to have that happen again. But look, I want you to join this conversation. First of all, has athletics taught you anything that's helped you in business?
Oh yeah, everything I learned about business, I learned from soccer, and I use soccer analogies all the time. And there are moments that I've had throughout my soccer career. I got to travel to China when I was a 16-year-old and represent Washington State. And so I learned a lot about cultures, different cultures, and it's kind of, they call it the world sport. So that's one reason why I love soccer, because it's global. And another thing that I can think of is in my sophomore year of high school, we were the Final Four in Washington State. So we actually played against Hope Solo. So it was a rainy day, the wind's coming sideways, the rain's coming sideways, and on the field steps this almost 6 foot tall athlete, and she played on the field and scored 2 header goals on us. And, you know, then to see her play in the World Cup is, I mean, Women's World Cup is amazing. So it's experiences like that, because I'm not the tallest, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest, but you know what? I've got grit. And so talking about staying power, I think that makes all the difference in the world, because you fall down, you get back up again, you try harder, and it doesn't have to be pretty, but you make it work.
Amen. Amen. And you have been making it work for quite a while. Like, I know that you and Dan go back quite a ways, but Marketing Maven, you're in your 15th year. I was just wondering if you could just kind of like tell us, what is Marketing Maven and who are you serving and what are you doing?
Sure. I started Marketing Maven when I was 26. I started in the guest bedroom of my home. And I didn't want to have an agency with my name on it, because I thought, okay, someday maybe it will be more than just me. And so it has become exactly that. And when I started the company, all we focused on was public relations. And then we have evolved as the markets evolved. And people came to me and said, hey, social media is kind of like PR. Could you do that? And I'm like, well, we don't really do that, but we could try. And then we started doing that, developing operations around it. Same thing for social media advertising. Since you're already doing our social media, could you do our social media advertising? Then we built that out. Same for influencer marketing, and then market research too. So recently we developed the Marketing Maven method, which is just calling it what we've been doing for all of this time. So we have the strategy, the insights, which is the market research, the strategy, and then the implementation. So that's the whole process.
So let's talk about, because that's your book, right? That's the concept in your book. Let's talk about your book, because it's been a bestseller.
Yeah, I was so excited.
You've written this book. I think people still need you, though. I mean, they'll read the book. They'll probably figure out, who's the book written for? Is it for small businesses? Is it for small entrepreneurs? And even though they get the book, how do they still take advantage of your services?
Well, it's funny, because I just did a speaking engagement, and the chief marketing officer of quite a large company came up to me afterward, and she said, I've never seen marketing explained so clearly before. And the way that you've created this into this process that's easy to understand is phenomenal, because even a chief marketing officer still has to communicate with the C-suite and the executive leadership team and have them understand what the heck is going on from marketing, because marketing is very vague to some people, especially to chief financial officer. And so I think to have it systematized like this, it can be for an entrepreneur, it can be for a large corporation, or, you know, any size company, because it really just breaks it down.
I love that. So it's insights, strategy, and then implementation or execution.
Exactly. Yep.
What, for small business owners, which of those three is easiest and most natural, and which of those three is the hardest? Where do they fall down?
Well, I think that everybody just jumps to implementation because they're like, let's make the rubber hit the road and let's go and let's do it. And then they're like, wait a minute, who are we reaching again? It's like, let's go that way. And they might be spending all their time and effort and money going the wrong way. So this is, I mean, even for this chair company, this gentleman's been doing awesome selling his chairs, and he has national television commercials, and they're targeting one particular demographic. But we were able to do market research and find out there are 3 other personas that he could be targeting. And right now you're leaving money on the table if you're not targeting them. So we developed a whole influencer marketing campaign and did digital advertising and opened up a whole new revenue stream that wasn't being touched before.
Lindsey, I'm going to put you in the DeLorean. We're going to go back in time. We're going to go back 15 years to you're 26 years old in the guest bedroom of your house. And you're starting this. What was the impetus? What was the passion? What was the love? How did marketing and PR and all of that, what was the genesis of that for you?
I was really fortunate in that when I was in college, I got a PR internship. I worked at an agency. I think I graduated and then started the next day. I was working 3 jobs in college where I would set up media interviews when I was on the bus going to and from soccer games. And I got my first piece of coverage in the Wall Street Journal above the fold on a Monday morning. And my boss was like, hey, some people wait their whole career to get that, and you just got it, as an intern. And I'm like, oh, cool. That was fun. I want to do it some more. So I worked at this PR agency. Then I got hired by this Scandinavian publicly traded company and worked as their VP of marketing. And so I got a lot of exposure really, really early in my career. And I had a mentor named Gwen, who was also my boss, who brought me into the boardroom for these meetings with investors and the C-suite. And I would say, what just happened? And then she would explain it to me. So the recession hit. That company declined severely, and I went to my television media buyer and started a PR division. And that's where I helped the Kardashians launch their Quip Trim product, worked with Billy Mays from OxyClean before he passed. And so I understood metrics around media and what needs to happen. And this was a major disconnect in PR, because PR, people would say, oh, here's your magazine coverage, good luck with your business, and not be accountable and not take responsibility for, hey, did it move the needle or did it not? And so what I wanted to do is take those types of metrics and apply them to public relations. And it's just expanded from there. That was really the impetus, was, hey, I want to try something to combine these things that aren't traditionally combined.
I love that. I mean, from a business standpoint, being able to connect, so many people don't have a connection between what they're doing in PR or just generalized marketing with the actual P&L that's driving their business and everything else.
Yep.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. Like if you look back over the last 15 years and someone else is coming in new to this space where you were, what's the biggest difference now from what it was, say, 15 years ago when you were just like launching this company?
There's so many differences, and the differences happen like week by week and month by month and year over year. And I think the biggest difference, if you just look at the PR category, is that there used to not be so much pay to play. And today there's so much pay to play that I think it makes it really difficult to have very pure public relations, like media relations, to pitch a newsworthy story and then get it on the news. So everybody kind of has their hand out just asking for money. And so that is very, very different than when I started doing this. I mean, I've been doing PR for 20 years, had my own company for 5 years or for 15 years. So there's, it's big, big differences. The other big thing is the emergence of blogs. We typically are doing everything very futuristically. So we'll start working with bloggers and then we'll put that on the menu and people are like, I don't really care about bloggers. I just want traditional newspapers. And we're like, okay. And then later everybody's like, I don't want traditional newspapers. I want bloggers. And the same thing happened with influencer marketing too. So we've been working with influencers for years. And I actually go to Washington, D.C. I take meetings with the Federal Trade Commission through government fly-ins with big law firms to ask them questions. Hey, what are you going to be busting brands and influencers on in the next year that we should all be aware of? Because we want to make sure we put it in our influencer agreements to protect the brands that we're working with. And the influencer game has changed big time too, because they used to not ask for extra payment for usage rights. And now they're like, well, if you want an extra 3 months, it's going to cost you an extra $2,000. And if you want an extra year, it's going to cost you another $5,000. So it just is getting a little bit more sophisticated, and we just have to give clients a heads up to manage expectations.
Well, Lindsey, I can't believe we're already here. We have to manage the expectations of our sponsors and pay the bills. We're going to take a short break to hear from today's spotlight sponsor. And when we come back with our guest, Lindsey Carnett, for a hot or not section of the show, we're going to ask Lindsey what she thinks about AI. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. EO Accelerator is a coaching program for Seattle area business owners who want to grow their existing small business beyond $1 million in annual revenue. As a small business owner, you face new challenges every day, whether it's deciding how you're going to fill out a rush of new orders, puzzling out where to find new customers, or sweating about making payroll. Do you ever find yourself wishing you had an instruction manual for your business? At EO Accelerator, our mission is to empower entrepreneurs with the tools, accountability, and community to aggressively grow and master their business. This is more than just theory. This is entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs, with top Seattle business leaders who have been where you are, volunteering as coaches and mentors in the Accelerator program. Because the hustle will only get you so far. The next level is a team sport. Want to hit $1 million in revenue? Join the club.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, everyone, where we are interviewing the best and the brightest CEOs and thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area, or originally from the greater Puget Sound area. I'm Craig, and our guest today is Lindsey Carnett for our next segment, Hot or Not.
Lindsey, I know you've seen or listened to the show. This is where Craig and I pepper you with questions about business, about life. Heck, we might even talk a little bit about soccer. Who knows? And at the end, you tell us whether it's hot or not. You don't win anything, but let's hope you have some fun. I mentioned AI. AI is all over the place, and especially things like ChatGPT. Hot or not, AI?
It's hot, but if you use it too much, you're going to get burned, because Google is actually penalizing companies for using AI to write their blogs, to write copy on their website. So be careful in how you use it. You can come up with different ideas. We have a client who just wrote his CEO message with AI, and we ran it through the AI scanner, and we said, hey, this is showing up as 71%. And we said, did you use AI to write it? Because before we add it to your website, we want to make sure that you're not going to get penalized for it. And he said, okay, I'll rewrite it over the weekend.
Okay. I just told Craig, I kicked him under the proverbial table and said, I have a follow-up question. That's new to me. I've not heard that. I want you to not only expand on that, but let me ask you this. Does that also include AI generated visuals and things like that? Is there any issues around that? And, I guess, tell me more about this tool that tells you, hey, AI wrote X%. Can you talk a little bit more about both of those?
Yeah, you can definitely run your different articles. It's kind of like what teachers use to check if a student is plagiarizing or not. So you can run content through that. The reason why Google doesn't want you just generating everything through AI is because then you're not going to be able to Google things. Like if you are Googling things, it's all regurgitated from AI stuff. So just to maintain that piece of market share, I think it makes sense in why they are penalizing the use of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is definitely taking over a lot of generation for a lot of stuff. All right, so how about something that's a little bit farther away from being completely replaced by AI? How about podcasts? Where do podcasts fit, hot or not, in an overall marketing mix?
I think podcasts are definitely hot because it's all about, I look at this from an SEO standpoint and look at all the points of syndication. So if you're looking at your business or your personal brand in terms of building a digital footprint, podcasts are huge in terms of building a digital footprint. And I think the summaries of what happened in the podcast to turn those into articles is just fantastic content. So you get Google favors content that is updated frequently. So the fact that podcasts occur regularly, and then you can also have those summaries of podcasts regularly, really can benefit any brand.
Lindsey, you brought this up just a little bit before we went to break, and so I'm going to assume that influencers are probably on the hot scale, but a lot of people might be wondering what is an influencer. They might be hearing it more and more. I see it in my golf world. I see golf influencers all over the place. Can you define what that is for folks and talk about if it's hot or not and why?
Yeah, so there are people that are nano influencers, there are micro influencers, and there are mega influencers. Mega influencers would be those that have over 1 million followers. Micro is like 10,000 to 100,000, like just somewhere in that range, maybe even 400,000. And then nano would be like under 10,000. And they're all valuable in different ways. It depends how you use them. So we're working with one women's health supplement right now, and we're doing their digital advertising. They have product in Walgreens, for example. And the way that we built up content for them is by going to these influencers, contracting them, giving them product, giving them payment, negotiating rights, and then being able to use those in digital advertising. And they didn't need to be the biggest influencers with 1 million followers. We just wanted to have good content that is relevant to their audience. And as you're looking at influencers, you also want to make sure that they're diverse, that they fit the audience makeup of your brand. So that's why it's important to look at what's the persona of your brand, who is your target demographic, and then what influencers will they be influenced by. And then you'll want to test their content, see what performs the best, and that's how you find the best influencers.
You know, I'm really interested in that. I kind of want to break out of the hot or not for a moment, just kind of like that. How do you manage that type of thing? So, because I assume you're managing influencers at some sense of scale, so it's not a one-on-one relationship for everything.
It
Like,
is.
how do you manage that flow of relationships?
I mean, the funny thing is it's similar to how we manage relationships with media, but an influencer is not trained as a journalist. They're not trained as a business person. They've built this following. Some influencers, you can work with them directly. Some influencers have management. So then you need to negotiate with the management. It's important to look at the engagement rate too, because you can definitely negotiate rates. But we keep track of them in spreadsheets by industry. So we'll look and see, and somebody could be, if you want to go to hot or not, the influencer could be really hot and then they're not, just like a month later or a year later. So we've worked with some influencers. When we worked with them, they, we got a rate of $7,500 for a whole big press event at South by Southwest. And now this influencer has over 4 million followers on her Instagram and charges $30,000 per video. And that's Lindsey's discounted rate, because normally it's 40,000 per video. And I'm like, that's crazy. This is only just a few years later.
So, I'm going to break away from influencers. I find that really fascinating, but I have just a thought. It's hard to believe that it's been 4 years since the pandemic hit, since COVID happened. It's almost to the date, a month away, 4 years when everything shut down. As you look back over those 4 years, how has your business most changed because of what happened during the pandemic? Because I think everybody shut down, everything. What kind of an influence came out of that for your business?
Sure. During the pandemic, I was 8 months pregnant when everything shut down. So I fortunately did not have to lay off any of my staff. but I was getting phone calls from clients in the manufacturing industry saying, Lindsey, we can't get supplies. Like, we got to put everything on pause. And so for me, going back to the sports, you win a few, you lose a few. So every day for me, I'm like, scoreboard, Lindsey, scoreboard, 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 because I would get 2 cancellations. Then I have this healthcare person that goes, this is my chance. I can hit it big right now. I need your help immediately. Get me a proposal. I want to sign on now. And I'm like, yes. So every day it was like, 2 losses, 1 win, 0-0, 3-0, 3-6. It was boom, 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 boom every single day. And so fortunately that happened. So I'm not just in one industry. So this saved my business during COVID, because I'm ranked nationally in all these different verticals, which is like, thank God. And the other big thing that happened was my love-hate relationship with Zoom, because everybody wanted to know, what's my target demographic doing? Because people's businesses, what they thought their business was, totally changed, and the audiences changed, and people's buying behavior changed, and the companies that were not online went online. Look at what happened with ordering food. So I even helped work with one of the food delivery companies, like, get on the map during that time, because they're like, now's our chance, we can hit it big. So market research emerged big time during COVID for us, because we could take these concepts that are so difficult to verbally explain. Like, I have the graph pictured in my mind, but I can't get the graph pictured in your minds unless I share my screen with you. So we were able to do so much screen sharing. And this is where we learned about, like, even this chair company, we got to study traditional office chairs versus chairs for working from home. So there are a lot of businesses that emerged and morphed during that period. So that was my love-hate relationship with Zoom and how my business changed during COVID. But it was really like the ability to demonstrate market research and show people, this is the product that you're going to get. And so we probably sold more market research during COVID than we ever would have.
I'm just kind of like reliving the last 4 years in this conversation, because that's exactly what it's been like. It's like I could see that with market research, because every week we were entering a new market and everything was changing on a nonstop basis.
Yep.
So kind of related to that, to responding quickly, hot or not, go to market speed. How important is that?
Well, it depends what industry you're in. And I work with a lot of product manufacturers and a lot of people that are in traditional, like, direct response television. And these are inventor type products. And so with those, you get one shot because you can get knocked off so fast. Now you see that on Amazon all the time. So some new product emerges, and then all of these copycats come out of the woodworks. So if you have a product that you've developed and it is able to be manufactured bigger, faster, stronger than you have to have a really, really strong go-to-market strategy and not let the cat out of the bag until you're really, really ready to support it in a big way. And you have some legal power behind you to go do cease and desist for all the copycats.
Well, we're going to take a short break, our second short break, to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, this has been such a fun conversation with Lindsey Carnett for our Plead the Fifth section of the show. I'm looking forward to this one, Craig. We're going to talk to Lindsey about hobbies. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, BC Fitness Studio, and Port Ludlow Resort. Please visit our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we are interviewing the best and the brightest in the Puget Sound area and beyond. I'm Craig Swanson, and our guest today is Lindsey Carnett, and our next segment is Plead the Fifth.
All right, Lindsey, I think we're going to turn up the heat. I'm going to keep talking sports. We're going to start throwing some curveballs at you, maybe. I don't know. And you get to plead the fifth once, but only once. So you don't seem like someone who fair catches to me. I think we're going to get. I think, Craig, we're going to get everything from her. But the first one I think is going to be fun because of some of the conversations we've had. Plead the fifth. Lindsey, if I told you you couldn't do what you're doing anymore, you have to start a new business and it's based on a hobby. What's the hobby and what's the new business?
I probably would do something around kids sports, or like something that would involve my kids, just so that they could participate in the business. They love coming to my office, and they love sitting in this chair and pretending that they're the boss. And so I think I would do something that is like a kid related business.
That's really cool. So you talked about a lot of the changes where the industry is today. So what do you like and dislike most about your industry today?
I think one of the things that I like about it is that I get to be creative. I love thinking, I mean, I took Ty Pennington to Norway for a Norwegian design tour, like that I made up, like we're going to do a Norwegian design tour. Why? Because I say so. And it's going to be good for the exports of furniture from Norway to the US. Like that's super cool to me. Like really sky's the limit. And I love being creative. I think the thing that I don't like is that it's do more with less, that it's just tighten, 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 tighten. And there's not a sense of commitment a lot of times from companies. They're like, okay, let's test this for 3 months or for 6 months or whatever. And so the longer you can commit to doing something, I mean, look at athletics. You don't go pro for 3 months just because you worked out, So you have to commit to doing things. And I think people's commitment levels have become shorter and shorter.
So, Lindsey, I think we can all say that sometimes we can all be our own worst critics.
Mhm.
Even after 15 years, is there something that you still struggle with as an owner, as an entrepreneur? And what would that be?
I think I didn't take any classes in college tied to business at all. I was a double major in Spanish and communications. So for me, looking at a P&L was like a foreign language. And I did do the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, which was helpful. But I think, business finance, I look at all these different companies that I have access to, and I'm looking at some that are going public, some that are doing mezzanine financing or Series A and Series B. So I think I would love to learn more about business financing and like strategically when to take on debt and strategically when to, give equity in types of scenarios. So I think the business finance side of things is really interesting to me. And I've seen a lot of companies use it to their advantage and others fail because of not knowing enough.
Podemos hablar en español.
Viví en Cuernavaca y fue mi especialidad en la universidad y tuve una maestra muy buena en high school.
Well, Craig, sorry, we'll come back to the English version we'll bring us back to English.
No problem. I definitely am a one language guy. I'm actually I'm gonna turn about just more on the social side. What's your most recent binge watch for like calming down and like just tuning out after work?
I don't really binge watch. I don't binge watch anything really. I mean, the only thing that I've seen was on an airplane, and I don't even remember what it was actually. So yeah,
So your binge watch is flying between appointments and across the states.
It is. It's like answering emails, really. Like I don't binge watch anything.
So Craig and I were like, it was a television show type thing. And we showed up at your house and we said, Lindsey, today is treat yourself day. You can do whatever you want. We're going to make it possible. You can fly wherever, you can do whatever you want. This is treat yourself day. What are you going to do for treat yourself day?
I would invite a masseuse to my house, kick everybody out, and not watch anything. That's my honest answer.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
All right. So what keeps you going? What keeps you going in business? Is it what is enough for you? When do you slow down?
I don't slow down. I like sprint. So I think I love winning. I mean, that's, I think my high from sports is like, yeah, we won, or I won this bid, or I won this RFP. So I love competing and I love winning. So, I mean, that as long as there are RFPs, as long as there's a bid, like I will be kicking very hard and like vying to win. So that's
Well,
what drives
Lindsey,
me.
that's funny you say that. So I got a question because, as you know, I also coach. I coached
Mhm.
basketball for 6 years, and I'm coaching golf at the high school now. And I know that I think I felt this way as when I played, but I definitely when I coach, I think I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
Is that a part of it for you too?
Yeah, but I like winning more than I hate losing.
Okay.
I really, it's just like the high of winning. And this could just, and it's not just things that I win, it's things that my staff wins,
Yep.
it's things that my clients win. I mean, when we have clients on the Today Show and they sell out a product or whatever that big win is for them, or they now get to innovate a new product because they did so well, or they got to hit whatever goal that they're looking to hit, that's what really satisfies me, is creating wins for everybody. So if a new staff member of mine is able to go buy a house because I gave them a good living, that's a win for me. I feel
love that.
very proud of that.
I love that.
That is-
That's part of being a great leader.
Yeah. So one thing that occurred to me when we were talking earlier, you talked about the last 4 years since everything shut down for COVID. 2020 was a leap year, and we are currently in our next leap year. There's a program I'm doing that is, we're kind of doing this exercise where we are taking leap year as an opportunity to anticipate and write what it's going to be like for us in 2028. So I want to ask you, on this leap year, you wouldn't have necessarily been able to get it right in 2020 because we didn't know what was coming. End of this month, we're really close to leap year. What does 2028 look like for you?
Well, the Olympics are going to be in Los Angeles in 2028. And I happen to know a few people that are working on the Olympic committee. And so I have my eye on the prize, which is doing something Olympics related in Los Angeles. And so I just secured a partnership between a Korean backpack company called Blackbriar and X Games for the X Games that they did, the Summer X Games in Ventura, and then just the one that just happened in Aspen. And so I would like to do something like that tied to the Olympics and make my way in there. So I definitely will be looking to do some Olympic stuff in 2028.
That is fantastic. You've already got your 4-year sprint, like one activity for your 4-year sprint planned out. Lindsey, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank. For our listeners that are just intrigued and want to get to know more about you, possibly learn how they can work with you, where can they get more information?
You can go to our website, marketingmaven.com, and feel free to email me directly, Lindsey, Lindsey, at marketingmaven.com.
Fantastic. And for all you watching, make sure that you check out the replays at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. And wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iHeartRadio, Google, Overcast, SoundCloud, any of those, please give us a follow on there, give us a like on there, and it really helps other people discover us. So we appreciate you being part of the Shrimp Tank family.
Hey, Lindsey, it was great talking with you. It's funny, we started with sports and we ended with the Olympics. I mean, we just covered it from end to end. It was great seeing you again. Thank you so much for being on the show. Hopefully the next time you're up here in Paulsbo, give me a call. We'll get together and have some coffee. It'll be great to see you in person again.
We'll have some shrimp.
There you go. That's exactly what we'll do. Craig, as always, good to see you, and we'll see you again in the next month. Everybody, do exactly what Craig said. Like us on Facebook, like us on all our places that we show up. Follow us on the live stream because we do this every Wednesday at noon Pacific time. Our next show will be Wednesday, February 14th. Valentine's Day. Is that right? Valentine's Day. Our guest will be Lael Sturm from Augmentor Virtual Assistants. My co-host for that show will be Vanessa Laughlin. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and be prosperous, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond.